So I want to welcome everyone here and say hello, beloved church family of the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Judith Roberts. I'm a practitioner here, and I will be your host tonight. And I welcome you to our midweek Oasis Wednesday night service. As you will be able to experience tonight, our Wednesday night oasis is a place where we come together in community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays.
These type of things happen 3 or 4 days in advance, and I'll bet it's me because they had to do the coordination.
I'm not sure what that was, but let me continue. Most Wednesday night services build upon the theme of the previous Sunday, sharing in a satsang style, expressing science of mind principles and practices with the intention that these gatherings be both informal and intimate, as well as interactive. Our annual theme for 2024 is a grand rising, and our monthly theme for June, actually, I have the wrong month here. Our monthly theme for July is, and who can refresh me on what the monthly theme for July is? We'll come back to this. So last Sunday, Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman introduced ideas inspired by the talk title of Imperfect Practices. And tonight, our speaker will continue the exploration of this same topic. So as we gather tonight, I really want to welcome you.
To start with, obviously, by
Early in her ministry with us, Reverend Sunshine Michelle invited us to come to the center. Well,
with Netanyahu today.
I'm hearing some radio or TV in the background. If you
Yeah,
have
I
one
was
on,
think,
if
I
you
was
have one
thinking,
on, please mute it.
yeah.
Please mute your computer. So, as we gather tonight, I really want to welcome you. And I was just said that early in her ministry with us, Reverend Sunshine Michelle invited us to come to the center well. To do so, she shared these 6 C's for us to consider and incorporate. The first one is compassion. Come with a heart of love and tenderness. The second one is communication. Come ready to exchange openly. The third one is camaraderie. Come in friendship and family. The next one is communion. Come in harmony and ready to share. The next one is collaboration. Come in partnership and cooperation. And the next one is consciousness. Come in spiritual awareness and truth. As we move into the program, these 6 C's are the premise of sharing a wonderful evening with you tonight. If you're new to our community or watching our recording, please visit our homepage, www.oaklandcsl.org, and click on the I'm New icon and look at the lower left-hand corner of the page to submit your email address. Once you do, you'll begin receiving the village newsletter.
I don't know what it is because I even lost.
You'll receive the village newsletter once a week in your email. It has all the information on what is happening at the center in the coming weeks. And this village news comes out every Thursday. So you can look for that. Before we get started with the talk, please mute your audio microphone during tonight's service. You can leave your camera on. When you mute your audio microphone, it'll improve the quality of our recording and tonight's transmission. So as we've already heard, sometimes people have things going in the background, and if they're not muted, those come over into the session tonight and into the recording. So please, again, mute yourself so that there's no external background noise. Thank you. Please stay tuned to the end of the service to receive special and important announcements. So I would like to introduce our speaker. Her name is Shirley Strong. She will be speaking to our subject of imperfect practices. Shirley has earned a Master's of Education and MA. She is a former Chief Diversity Officer and Dean of Students, retired after several decades in higher education and nonprofit work. Building beloved community has become a touchstone of her life and work. In 2021, she completed a seminary education, a lifelong goal, after which she wrote a spiritual memoir and a manual for first generation BIPOC college students. She gives talks and workshops on building beloved community and increasing belonging. She works as a consultant for California Institute of Integral Studies Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the Provost Division, and the Center for Psychedelic Therapies and Research. So, Shirley, thank you in advance for being our speaker tonight. As we do with every organized event at the center, we open with prayer. Alice Knudsen has offered to do the opening prayer tonight. So I'd like to turn this over now to Alice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Wednesday night oasis. So let's just go inside. Just allow your eyes to close and to still the body. And just breathing in and breathing out, entering into that stillness and that sacred place inside where the power and the presence of the one life resides. For I am declaring that I recognize that God is everywhere present. There is no spot where God is not. And as we come together tonight in prayer, I am just knowing that we are divinely guided, that each one of us is one with this magnificent force of love and light. And this time together tonight is truly blessed. I am just knowing that Shirley has so much love and education and awareness to share with us, and we sit in eager anticipation as Spirit guides her words and just showers us with love and guidance tonight. So as you breathe in and breathe out one more time, just knowing that this time together is truly a blessing. And so please join me in saying, and so it is. Blessed be.
And
So it
so
is.
it is.
So it is. Thank you, Alice. That was a beautiful prayer. And so now I would like to introduce Shirley Strong. Shirley?
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be. I'd like to start by saying, in keeping with the theme, practice makes imperfect. Beloved community, which is my topic, is a journey. It's been my journey for a long time. And I imagine it's been the journey of many people, of some of the people here as well. I began this journey at 17, really, when I was on my way to college, and I was anxiously waiting in my living room that hot August day for Martin Luther King to come on for the March on Washington, to come on as the speaker. It took hours because so many people had to talk. Finally, he shows up and delivers this powerful speech that I feel just got right into me, just went right to my core. I cried. I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't be still. It just really captured my imagination. And I decided that for the rest of my life, I wanted to be a civil rights worker. I didn't know what to call it at the time. I had 17 in this little Midwest town. So I decided it must be a civil rights worker. And I went off to college And many years later, I found myself doing the work of social justice for a foundation. And one of the things that came out of that for me was we had the resources, we had the financial support from the foundation, we had committed individuals from communities, we had training, and we still couldn't make headway. You know, we made some progress, but not in a significant way. And I decided at that point, there must be something missing. We're doing something wrong. And I've come to realize over time, it's the spiritual component. It was spiritually rooted activism and justice. And that was the missing ingredient. And so I began to think of that as beloved community. It was a term that people were comfortable with. It didn't seem too religious. People seemed to resonate with the thought. It was just a beautiful concept. So I began working to try to figure out how we can come together in beloved community as individuals, as communities, and hopefully as a nation and world. Now, my definition of beloved community, and if you put up the first slide, Paul, I'd appreciate it. The second slide, I guess I should say, the third slide, actually, is my definition. Slide 3, 2, and then 3. One more. There we are. That's my definition of beloved community that I've cobbled together over the years. I call it an inclusive, interrelated consciousness based on love, justice, compassion, responsibility, shared power, and a deep respect for all people, places, and things that radically transforms individuals and restructures institutions. And I see it as a both and kind of thing. It's two-pronged. We have to work on ourselves. We have to deal with our own stuff. And then we have to work to change our institutions, to really restructure them, because there's a lot of work to be done. And some of us are good at one as opposed to the other. Hardly anybody I've run into, there are a few notable ones I can think of, are good at both. I feel like I was good at the restructuring the institutions, but I hadn't done enough of my own work. And so part of my responsibility is to strengthen my own individual efforts in regard to beloved community. I'd like to share a second definition as well from Bell Hooks. So can I have the next slide? The next slide, Bell Hooks says, the late Bell Hooks, beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and cultural legacies that shape who we are and how we live in the world. Often we think of beloved community sort of like the melting pot. Everybody comes together, we all get along, and hopefully we all do get along, but we don't lose our identities, our cultural backgrounds, are the things that make us who we are. And that's a part of beloved community as well. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, you know, everybody attributes Martin Luther King to the term beloved community. He popularized it, but he didn't invent it. As far as most of us can determine, it was invented by Josiah Royce, who is a Boston University theologian. And he said, every proposed reform, every moral deed is to be tested by whether and to what extent it contributes to the realization of beloved community. And he went on to say, and this is the part I love most, when one cannot find the beloved community, we need to take steps to create it. And if there is no evidence of its existence, then the rule to live by is to act so as to hasten its coming. Act so as to hasten its coming. I think that's the part that speaks to me. How can I live and act and show up in a way that I can help beloved community arrive or become a reality in my life and in the life of others? Now, King did, as I say, popularize it. And he felt that beloved community, if it's to be realized, must have two components: a radical transformation of values and a deep restructuring of institutions. He said that later in his life, right actually a year to the actual day he was assassinated. He said it April 4th at Riverside Church, 1967, and he was assassinated April 4th, 1968. And it was in this speech called Breaking the Silence Beyond Vietnam. So he talked about two components: a radical transformation of values and a deep restructuring of institutions. Next slide, please. And this is the part that I think involves all of us. How will it be achieved? King didn't believe that it would just one day come to pass. It would just one day appear or happen. He saw it as an ideal that first we must envision, and I think we've done that and done that well, and then achieved. He hoped that every succeeding generation would commit their lives, their work, their resources, their talents to advancing beloved community. Next slide, please. But let me stop here before I go to that and talk about another person who I think had something to do with my thoughts on beloved community, and that was Grace Boggs. And one day I heard her say, in a speech she gave at the University of Illinois, she said, "I wonder how things would be different if we'd been able to combine Malcolm's power, Black liberation, and Martin's beloved community. I wonder how things would be different, both intrapersonally and interpersonally, if we'd been able to combine Malcolm's Black power, Black liberation, and Martin's beloved community." I think that was such a powerful question. That was the final step that set me on this journey of trying to learn more about beloved community. Now, I would say this about beloved community and OCSL. These are conditions I think must exist. And I think OCSL does a good job of this. I think we can always do more. We can always deepen into it even more. But one of the components is radical hospitality, welcoming the stranger in our midst. I see OCSL doing that really well. I was a new person to the congregation recently, and I felt very welcome. I felt seen. I felt like I belonged. Another component of beloved community is lavish generosity, sharing the gifts we've been given. I think that's a very important one for all of us, no matter how little or how much we have. What's the song? Little becomes much in the sight or in the master's hand. A third component is unapologetic opposition to injustice. I think sometimes we are a little hesitant to really stand up and speak out for justice. We don't want to offend. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We want to stay safe. But I think clearly we must have solidarity with those who are disenfranchised, who are the least of us. Another component, and all these, again, I put them down because I saw them in OCSL, in Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. The other component is intergenerational engagement, valuing both the contributions of elders and of youth. Again, I see how we bless the youth every Sunday, and I see the elders in our midst who are cared for and respected and valued. So we do that well. As a community of the whole, we do that less well beyond the borders of OCSL. And the last one I put down is breaking bread together, community meals. Again, it's something we do well. And I think we stopped doing it. We don't do enough of it as a community. Everything has become harder and more complex, especially after COVID. So that's something I think we have to find ways to do, because that's where we really experience that radical hospitality that I mentioned earlier. There's a saying I love about this work. And the idea that it's a journey. And it says, I haven't arrived yet, just agreed to go. We are all work in progress. And I feel like OCSL has a really incredible opportunity to deepen into and live more fully into the whole notion of beloved community. I think sometimes we use it as a slogan. It's only natural. It just sounds good. It makes people feel good. But how can we take it beyond the idea of a slogan or just a saying or an ideal or a value and put it into practice? How do we as individuals act so as to hasten its coming? How do we do this both in our families, in our personal life, and in our OCSL community, and in our larger community of Oakland and the Bay Area? I would like to also suggest a couple of things that might be helpful. One of those is reframing some of the notions we have about safety. One of the things we say in this work of building beloved community and increasing belonging is that we don't want to just talk about safe spaces. We want to talk about making spaces safe for people to take risks, to have courageous conversations, to speak up in loving courage. And another component we want to work on as we build this beloved community in our midst, and we take it beyond the components I mentioned earlier, is we want to create opportunities for repair when things go awry. We want to be able to say, as one of the scriptures said, if you have any enmity toward your neighbor, stop what you're doing and go immediately and seek repair or do something about it. I know I'm one of these people who can hold a grudge. I'll just admit it. I hold stuff on my heart, even though I may not act like it. I just have a hard time letting stuff go. So that's work. That's my work. That's work I have to do. And then finally, I want to encourage us to extend grace both to ourselves and to others. We sometimes beat ourselves up when we make a mistake or we think we've made a mistake. We're really hardest on ourselves than other people are, and harder on ourselves than other people are. So I think some of our work is to extend the grace actually we give to others to ourselves. Finally, there's one final thing I'd like to say as we close. There's this new concept that I've heard recently, and you probably have heard it too, and it's calling people in rather than out. It's something that this author named Loretta Ross came up with. Actually, she won a MacArthur Genius Award for her concept. And we have this cancel culture, this got you mentality. And the idea is to move away from that and to move closer to this whole notion that we don't want to have this approach to people that you're wrong and we're going to beat you up or make you feel bad or really just pound you with your mistakes, but instead calling people in rather than calling people out. And the definition of a call out is a call in. What is the definition of a call in is a call out done in love. So we can call people out lovingly, respectfully, gently, compassionately. We can still say what needs to be said and do it in a way that doesn't alienate people or make people feel bad or guilty or shamed or any of those things. So the idea of the beloved community is to just do our work to the best we can, knowing that we are not perfect. As the talk that Reverend Sunshine gave, we are perfectly imperfect. And practice makes imperfection, not perfection. I love that. I think if we use that more, it'll get us closer to beloved community. Now I'd like to turn to all of you and open this up for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you very much. That was very thought-provoking and heart-opening. Do we have anybody who would like to comment or ask Shirley any questions? And Peter, you can help me because I can't necessarily see everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robert leads. Go ahead. Hi, Shirley. I so appreciate everything that you had to say. And I'm curious about where you see things are going, because there was so much progress that happened in this country during the 60s and 70s. And then there was a backlash starting with Reagan. There's been some progress. It's like for every 2 steps forward, there's 1 step back. We had we're in the midst of an authoritarian threat to our country. So there's like really awful things happening, but there's also amazing things happening in terms of communities coming together, people working for justice, that kind of thing. And I'm just curious, with all your experience and perceptiveness, like kind of like where things are going. What do you see happening in the near future, and what can we do to help create a world that works for everyone?
That's a great question, Robert. And if you'd asked me a few days ago, I probably would have had a different answer. I probably would have been less hopeful.
Yeah.
But I'm a little more hopeful at this point.
I think we all feel that way.
I think the next step, what we can do is get busy and try to get people out there to vote. I know we have to be impartial, and nonpartisan, I guess is the correct word. But we can certainly register voters and get people out. And given where we live, we kind of know what that looks like. I think as a country, I think that there's a lot, it's a grievance culture. There's a lot of anger. People are feeling left behind, left out, really, really hurt. And I think places like Oakland Center for Spiritual Living is in a really unique and wonderful place. We have a theology that supports hope and that is very positive and very grounded in the kinds of things that lift people up as opposed to bring people down. It's inclusive. Everybody's welcome. So I think we can do our work individually and as a community, and that then lifts people up. I think it's an example and a role model for change. And I think it's like a million little lights, when you bring them all together, it's a bright light. So I see us really being a model. And I see not just OCSL, but all the Centers for Spiritual Living kind of modeling this because of our theology and the way we practice.
Thank you.
But I think there's a lot of reason to, as much as we hope, in spite of what we see, it's the evidence to the contrary. I mean, we hold hope in spite of the evidence that maybe would cause us to not be hopeful, particularly internationally, globally. I think things are pretty desperate. They're pretty challenging for folks.
And I think that one of the components with that is social media. Here we are on Zoom, having a productive, a constructive, conversation. But so much of social media is destructive, and it brings out, it's like when you drive, it can bring out the worst of you. And so social media seems to do that as well. And sometimes I wonder, if that the world seems worse today just because we're exposed to so much more information, that it's really not that much different than it was, 20, 50 years ago. But we just hear it all we're bombarded with that information, and it just makes us more anxious.
Absolutely. I think that's true. But I also think we have a choice of what to tune into, what to allow into our consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Hey,
Yeah.
Renee.
We have Dorothy. Dorothy, do you want to say something?
Yes, I want to say, let us not forget our source and our sufficiency in all things, which is God. Let us not play into the negative, the fear, the lack, the limitation. Let us remember who our source is. And let us know in November, Alice and I are going to put on our evening of blessings so that you can come and have practitioners pray you up beyond this voting situation and all that you hear, all the negativity, all of that. Let us not forget that God is truly our source and our sufficiency in all things. And I'm thanking Reverend Sunshine for allowing us to be there November 1st, and that we are opening our doors to our community to come forth and be blessed by our fabulous practitioners who will be there to help you through this process. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you for that reminder. That's such an important reminder. I also think we've got to do both, and we got to work and we got to pray.
That's right. Paul.
I would like to pose to you, Miss Shirley, do you think it's any coincidence that happened on Sunday? Here, if you would hear me out for a minute. I can say for the most part, especially being in this area of the country, and you mentioned it already, we feel pretty safe in our politics here. I can boldly say that. Where it feels unsafe is at a national level for me and many of the people around me. And we knew a shift was needed, but we held the consciousness of good. We do it in many, many ways here at the Oakland Center. Small groups get together. I don't know, but I was fortunate to witness Reverend Sunshine in person on Sunday. And it's almost like she was telling us to be ready for something great to happen. Big. Let me say big, because it's not great for some people, but it was big. And it was great for me. And I think I share that with all the smiles I see on my face. But she said, get out of your head and go into your heart as you leave service today. Go out in that courtyard and talk to one another about those things that you need to talk about. She encouraged us to do that. And right at the end of the service, the announcement came, the word spread from the social hall into the courtyard, into the back of the church as I was wrapping up and turning off lights and getting ready for the next event. And some of us just grabbed hands and formed a circle and blessed the space we were in. and trying to acknowledge the cataclysmic event that had happened, and thanked those that were serving us both locally and nationally, and blessing them. I mean, that was my immediate reaction from all the training I've gotten at Oakland Center. And I'm no big ecclesiastical side. I'm the facilities guy. But even I prayed on Sunday for gratitude. My point is, we've been hoping for this shift ever since the events that have happened. A great many of us, I think we put it into consciousness. And I think it started, Reverend D. Jacqueline said a couple Wednesdays ago when she spoke, that we have to recognize that we're at a turning point. And when we recognize that we're at a turning point, we can make it a tipping point. It's like all of these messages we've been receiving through Centers for Spiritual Living and multiple sources has been preparing the way for this to happen. I don't think there are, and as Dorothy said, any in my way of interpreting Miss Dorothy, there are no coincidences in God and goodness when that's at the forefront of our action. And I wonder what you think about that cataclysmic shift, that it's not a coincidence, maybe.
I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think there are any coincidences either. I think it's all in divine order. I think we are impatient. What I've learned is I have to just be more patient sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, we still have to do the work, but sometimes I get really, kind of worked up about something, and I just have to trust that all is well. It's already done. We just haven't seen it in manifested, but it's on the way. And I think that's what I get from OCSL and from the way we kind of talk about things and do things. And I think that's what we need these days. We've got a lot of negativity in our culture, and I think it's really hard to combat. But and I think, where two or three are gathered, I mean, I think that when we come together, we increase and magnify what needs to happen. So I'm really grateful that I found a place where that is going on and I can be a part of it. And I think the more we can help other people know about who we are and what we do, and the more comfort, because people need comfort right now. They need reassurance, they need community in a really major way. But thank you, Paul. That's so true. Well, there are no coincidences. I left the church. Right. I was in my car and I saw it. And I'm like, oh my God, So yes.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your message today, Shirley. It was absolutely right on time. And I just say thank you for all of us. And I just hope that we as a community are able to come together and go forth and bring others into our community and help those who need the help to go forward. Because there are a lot of people who may need rides to go vote. There are a lot of people who may need other ways of getting there. And I think we as a community, if we just open up our hearts and our minds and look at our neighborhoods as to what it is we need to do, we can soar through this, regardless of the appearances of things. I do believe we will soar. I'm complete. Thank you.
Reverend Sunshine.
Yeah, I feel like I need to say something. I'm not exactly sure what I want to say. There's so much in here, and I agree that it's the both and, Shirley, and thank you for your talk. And that's why I invited you, because now is the time for you to speak, with all your experiences and with what we're grappling with. And so, there's, and y'all hear me from the pulpit, so you know what my feelings are and what have you. It's people are enmeshed in fear, and we need to focus on faith. And so how do we do that, and how do we stay grounded? And that's one of the reasons why I've gotten behind what Reverend Dr. David Alexander is doing, and what Paul was talking, about the consciousness. What they're talking about from our spiritual view is almost like the harmonic convergence. You remember that back in 89, where we all got together and we prayed at the end, and we're still doing it. The World Peace Meditation at our time, 4 a.m. on December 31st.
Yes.
And this is
Yeah.
that. It's like building that momentum in consciousness, and we need to deploy. It's like, how do we, get involved and do the action of, and, there's this fear piece that's out there. When I look at some of the things that are going on, it causes, it's almost that constriction, but we want expansion. So how do we, I like your points you talked about, to have courage, which I think about my Grandma's holy boldness, right? So to step out, regardless of feeling fear, into the faith, to go repair something, to go talk to somebody. How do we not even to tuck our own emotions, because that's not healthy for you to suppress them. How do we engage in conversation that may be tough, and that we may be saying it, in a way that we want to be respectful? You're right. But sometimes people don't want to take the initiative to go have the conversation. I've been having a couple conversations around next month's topics, because I think it will be provoking, and I think it's good for us to have these conversations around unstatus quo, is what it's called next month in August, right? So how do we look at disabilities? How do we look at othering? How do we look at and talk about sex? How do we talk about some of the things that are out there that, are taboo? So it's, I'm rambling, but these are the things that we have to grapple with, and we just have to do it. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to step out there. We have to try it and say, I don't know, but I'm trying. So please forgive me. Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And here's what's on my heart. What's on your heart? How can we do this together? So anyway, thank you so much for what you've said.
Thank you. I think one of the things I would say as we move to a close up, it has to be in community. I think there's a yearning for community. I felt it. That's why I reached out to and came to OCSL. I decided I needed a spiritual community. I couldn't do this work on my own, even though there were other communities. I needed a spiritual community. And I think that we're seeing evidence of that. I don't know if you've heard about all the calls that have been going on recently. Thousands of people have been coming together on Zoom and on calls to the point where they broke Zoom. And go back and ask for an unlimited Zoom. And they were very centered on different communities. There was a call, I think, on Sunday night or one night for Black women, and there were 47,000 Black women on the call. There was a call, that was a national call. Then there was a call for California, people in California, Black women, there were 20-some thousand. I understand now there's a call for Asian women. I don't know if that's happened yet, for white women, and everybody's coming together. And I would not be offended by the fact that we're doing it based on identity groups. I think that's where we start, and then I think we come together as a whole. But sometimes we have to start where we are with the people that are that we feel comfortable around and are familiar with, and then build out from there. So I think that those are signs. I think there's so many signs right now. Those calls have raised a lot of money. There needs to be more money raised. But I feel like for me, I feel like I never felt what I felt about politics before Obama was elected. I went to Nevada to work. I made phone calls. I think we got to do that all over again, because it's even more desperate. That was a little symbolic, the first African-American president. This is about our country, our democracy. And I think we have to do the same thing even more so now.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a comment, please?
I was gonna ask you if you, Peter, maybe you can help with this. If you'd be willing to refresh us on your definition of beloved community, because it was early on in the program, but
sure,
I would like to take a picture of it, but I would just like to refresh it before you close.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Paul. I can give it to you, but I think the picture would be helpful too.
Right. Peter, I think it was number 3 or number 4 in her deck.
It was 3 and 4.
3 and 4?
3 and 4. Mm-hmm.
3 was mine and 4 was Bell Hooks. And I think
oh, that's right. That's right.
Really, really good. My definition, and I think, Peter, you're probably looking for the slide because I don't have the slides to show, is an inclusive, interrelated consciousness based on love, justice, responsibility, shared power, and a deep respect for all people, places, and things that radically transforms individuals and restructures institutions. Peter, can we make that? Thank you.
Is that the one?
That's the one. And we can, after this, we can show bells too, bell hooks. But first, let's stay here. So if we want to take a picture.
Yeah.
And this definition I came up with about 20 years ago from my reading. And I feel like I cobbled a lot of different pieces together, like shared power. I remember I was at one school and the president told me to take out shared power. And I'm like, well, okay, but that's important. But more importantly, both the radical transformation of individuals and the restructuring of institutions. Those are the two components that are so critical. They're both and, not either or.
Yeah.
Now, can we have bells again, just as a reminder as we close? I think the things I identified there are in bold. Beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and cultural legacies that shape us. And each of us is really important. We all have it. Nobody doesn't have an identity or a cultural legacy. And that's what shapes us. Some of them are more, are less apparent, they're less obvious, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to own those. We have to really embrace them first within ourselves, and then we can reach out to others and do an even stronger bond, because we're coming from our, as Reverend Sunshine would say, our own authenticity.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you for asking that, Paul. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I think I cut Peter off. I think he was going to ask, Peter, were you going to ask a question or?
No, I was just agreeing. I was just saying, yes, that's well put. Thank you. Yeah, we have to embrace each other and speak the truth in love to each other about the things that we hold. And that's been, it's a challenge, and that's what we're up for right now, is a challenge.
And about who we are, where we've come from, our identities. Like, I think we have to really examine whiteness, not as a individual or a person, but as a consciousness, as a concept. And I think that's a hard one. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to throw in here that the social justice ministry, which is fairly new, we're working on a variety of dates for activities at our center for different things, but they are going to host a listening circle in September. And so that will be a lovely opportunity to listen each other in, as you were saying, Shirley, to call ourselves in with love, call ourselves out with with love, I think you said.
I'm seeing that wrong. It's the definition of a call out is a call
in.
Oh, yeah.
Call in with
Oh,
love or
good.
something like that. Yeah. We need to do more of that, and I want us to do it in our community, because as we do that, then with every conversation we have, we get more adept at spreading it. And in that way, we are making it a world that works for everyone, because we're practicing, even if the practice is imperfect.
And I think the other piece that's really important is we have to have courage and do those conversations that, you know, I used to have a mentor that said we have to speak what was unspoken. We have to be able to say what we know is in the room but hasn't been said, but that needs to be said.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, a lot of courage.
Absolutely.
And you have to have courage to have courage. I heard myself say that on Sunday. You have to have courage to have courage.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have called that a Gradyism if I didn't know any better, Reverend Sunshine. But
Yeah.
Can I just say that Renee is our guest too, and she's a Thrive member, and we're doing a beloved community journey, a practice on with one of our organizations. And Renee, I invite you to say something. Would you like to have a word? You know, it's like in church.
Yeah, I was just thinking like, oh, I should write a definition of beloved community. Like maybe we all should write our own definitions and read each other's, and I think we could learn a lot from one another. And I
Right.
was like, oh, there's an Asian group, but like, where do I find out? Like, I guess I gotta go on social media and find it or something, but.
I think I've seen the link. I'll try to find it again and send it to you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And by the way, Thrive is the group that we co-hosted the Melanie DeMoore concert with the Wild Choir in
Oh,
May.
yeah.
So Renee and Shirley actually are a part of that group for sure.
Right.
Thanks for
Wow.
coming, Renee.
Oh,
All right, Judith, your turn. You better
Yeah,
take it.
so I would like everybody to I'd want to invite everybody to show Shirley your appreciation for such a lovely, lovely, as I said earlier, heart-opening, heartwarming, stimulating talk. It was really, 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 really wonderful. Actually, the word that came to mind, Shirley, was delicious. It was a delicious talk. I don't know why that came to mind, but I trust it. That's what came out. So thank you. And I'm going to transition us now into our announcements. So Peter, can you pull up the slide for the announcements? Okay, so this Sunday, July 28th, the Reverend Alicia Christopher will be speaking on Perfectly Imperfect and Expansive Experience. Meditation starts at 10 a.m. and is followed by the service at 10:30. And on Wednesday, the 31st, at our midweek oasis, join Christopher Brown, practitioner, for a deeper conversation on the topic Perfectly Imperfect and Expansive Experience. And as always on Wednesdays, meditation is at 6:30 and service is at 7 by Zoom. You can go to oaklandcsl.org and click on services for the Zoom link. And you can join our 2024 daily community spiritual practice using the Abundance Book. It's a 40-day prosperity plan by John Randolph Price. Today, we're on the 6th day of the program using the 6th affirmation in the book. Follow along daily in the order that the affirmations appear. And the Diversity Circle will be meeting Friday, July 26th via Zoom. This month's topic is transnational adoption, a parent's perspective. Visit oaklandcsl.org and select groups to find out more about the Diversity Circle and the details. Okay. So join the growing movement of My Election Intention, 100 Days of Mindful Practice, July 28th through November 4th, created by CSL Minister Reverend Dr. David Alexander. Tune out fear, tune in vision. With 10 somatic healing principles based on the book What It Takes to Heal by Prentice Hemphill. Text JOIN to 470-784-0250. And I did that today, so I will see what happens. I want to be a part of this, and I hope you do too. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so effective July 14th, 2024, we have instituted an animal policy that addresses hygiene, allergies, and safety. Certified service dogs are only allowed in the sanctuary and social hall. This does not include pets or emotional comfort animals. The service animal must be harnessed and leashed and may be identified with special identification on their harness or collar. The user of a service animal must be in control of the animal at all times. To read the rest of the policy, please contact our operations coordinator, Steve Carter, Steve at oaklandcsl.org, extension 1. Okay. And the Celebrating Our Soul New Thought Conference is coming up August 1st through 4th and will be held at Unity Village in Missouri. This conference welcomes everyone and is curated and hosted by African Americans. Register to attend at www.padntg.org. Next slide. Okay. And now, let's see here. Okay. Join Catherine Jolly and Verna Lim on Saturday, August 3rd from 3 to 4 p.m. for an afternoon of cello and piano music, a fundraiser benefiting the children of Gaza. Suggested donation is $20. Specify Mika in the description. Our June nonprofit partner, Middle East Children's Alliance. Checks and cash will be accepted at the intermission. No one will be refused admission due to lack of funds. Okay, next slide. So the Laurel Street Fair World Music Festival will be held August 10th from 11 to 7, located between 35th and Maybell Avenue in Oakland. OCSO will have a booth. If you're interested in participating, please sign up at the table in the foyer or email Linda Wyman at bookstore@oaklandcsl.org. And we had a great time, as this says here. We had fun introducing OCSL to our greater community at the Montclair Beer, Wine, and Music Festival. And I can attest to that. It was great fun and it was a great time. So I'd like to encourage everybody to join in this either as a volunteer or just come and enjoy and participate in the whole festival. Okay, next slide. So join us on August 17th, 12 to 5 p.m. for the ultimate family reunion of Centers for Spiritual Living in Oakland, including Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, East Bay Church of Religious Science, and Heart and Soul Center for Light. The event will be held at the Martin Luther King Jr. Regional Shoreline Park in Oakland. Registration form is coming soon. Okay. So our nonprofit partner for July is Direct Action Everywhere, a global network of activists working to achieve revolutionary social and political change for animals in one generation. Please visit www.dxe.io. That's a big vision. I'm glad we're supporting them. And the Spirit Treasure Bookstore's theme for July is Practice Makes Imperfect. Meditation supplies are on sale. Journals, mala beads, candles, incense, meditating statues, and books on meditation. Please go to bookstore at oaklandcsl.org to take advantage of the July sales. Okay, next slide. And here I would like to acknowledge and thank all of our stakeholders at OCSL. Of course, Reverend Sunshine is here. Beth Van Arkel, who is our board president, facility usage coordinator, Susan Brecker, Steve Carter, our operations coordinator, Dorothy Mendez, Ministry of Care coordinator, and Dorothy mentioned the Evening of Blessings that's coming up soon, which she has been hosting for many, many years. Dal Becker, who is our bookkeeper, and of course, our own Paul Prosciutti, who is with our facilities. So thanks to all of them who are the kind of the grease of this organization, OCSL. Keep the wheels turning. Next slide. Okay, so now I want to talk about just our sacred giving time. And also to visit csl.org to see what's happening for the Centers for Spiritual Living in the broader organization. We always in our services have a time that we call joyous giving. And this is a time to offer your gratitude, offer your heart in a visible and measurable way. So I'd invite you to say with me our affirmation here, and you can say it silently or you can say it. Probably better to be muted for this. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies this offering. It blesses all that I am, all that I give, and all that I circulate. Thank you, love, as me. And so it is. So we have many ways that you can donate. If you go onto our website at csl.org, oaklandcsl.org, and press the donate button, you'll see all of these different ways to donate. You can use Zelle, you can write a check, you can put something in the offering basket on Sunday, you can use this QR code, and you can also text. So we have all these different means by which you can offer to OCSL and to show your gratitude and your thanks for all that this center is doing and to support this center. So we thank you. We thank you for anything that your heart leads you to offer. And at this point, I would also like to thank all of the people who participate in this service today. We have Peter as our lead. We have Alice Herndon spotlighting people and Alice Knudsen muting people. Alice offered our opening prayer. Alice Knudsen and Alice Herndon led our meditation today. Steve Carter is in administration. And of course, I want to offer our thanks to our speaker, Shirley Young, for making the time and saying yes to the invitation this evening, and to Reverend Sunshine Michelle and Reverend Ikea for being here and supporting the program tonight. So thank you all. It's been a wonderful program, and we are very, very grateful. Thank you. So now I am going to offer and I forgot Peter. I forgot Peter. Peter is in the background, as you know. He's doing our PowerPoints, and he's actually our Zoom host tonight. So thank all of you. And I would like to offer a closing prayer. So let's take a breath together. Just basking in this community. this beloved community right here and right now. Everybody who participated in this program tonight and who is here online with us, and also everyone who watches this service later, this recording. Just knowing that Shirley Strong's words and talk opened us, deepened us, expanded us, increased our consciousness, and increased our knowledge and our ability of contributing to beloved community, whether it is in OCSL or in the extended world. This subject that is so precious and so needed. So I give great thanks for this, knowing that everything is in divine order, that this service unfolded perfectly, that the right people were here and the right people come later, and that it reaches us and it ripples out into the universe. The hearts, the love, the kindness, the compassion, the understanding, the deepening. It enriches us. And so I give thanks for this and the more. And I bless everyone here, everyone who watches later. And I know that as we move to our next destination or our next stage of the evening, that all is well, all is in divine order, and that each one here is perfect, whole, and complete. I give thanks for this and the more, and I invite you to say with me, and so it is.
And so it
Amen.
is. Amen.
Amen. Amen.